Okay, the Machine Plus, okay, version 1, I guess, Mark 1. Very exciting to see something that's out there to compete with Akai's standalone machines, MPC, MPC-1, the MPC Live 2, so forth and so on. I'm going to say that back in 2017, I was actually primarily interested in the machine ecosystem, which would have been the Mark II at the time or the Studio at the time. But I got turned away from their ecosystem because you couldn't buy the software directly. So someone in my position that was going to buy a used machine, let's say from the Guitar Center, you might be buying a brick just because you couldn't buy the software, and the software to the unit was never transferred over the license, which was by chance, more than likely, you'd be stuck with basically a brick. So it kind of turned me away from that ecosystem. Having said that, I bought the MPCX and kind of never looked back. But it's still, having said that, exciting to see the Machine Plus come out to offer, of course, to keep everyone else honest. The devil's is in the details as far as how they're going to do their authorization. My guess, the software within the standalone, even though you kind of think of standalone as being plug and play, it still might be tightly authorized. So if you end up selling your machine and you don't transfer the license, possibly like the other way they used to do it, you might be buying a machine that you can't update because of the transferability to your Native Instruments account. So that remains to be seen. They don't talk a whole lot about that. So maybe someone will review that part of their ecosystem. So, if you're looking to get one down the road, you might have to rely on the same issues that I had with the machine software itself as far as licensing. But and another thing I'd like to see is if FM8, some of the software that's in there, are they direct translations? Because we know that FM8 standalone has its own DSP within the plugin. Is it going to be exactly like that, or are you going to have like some version of FM8, some version of Massive, where you don't have the DSP within the plugin? So that remains to be seen because, as far as compatibility from a standalone session, taking it into the software on the Mac or PC, are the patches and so forth going to be interchangeable, or are they going to be direct ports of the plugin? Because we also know that there's going to be some form of DSP to be able to do your signal processing on the machine itself. So that remains to be seen. And of course, how much they're going to support and upgrade future plugins or implementations of future plugins from the Native Instrument family, at least. Because I can tell you, with what little that was announced, there's enough standalone content in there to really do a lot of music within. That's not even counting using external gear. And by the way, as far as using external gear, it'd be interesting to see what their MIDI implementation is, as far as like being able to connect USB hubs and then class compliant external MIDI. So for those of you that are using the Akai 2.8 firmware, I can take a USB hub and plug in all sorts of external MIDI gear modules through USB, and the MPC will recognize the class compliant devices without any driver support. So that's really cool. So I like to see what the MIDI implementation for external gear is, and the MIDI control capability, the MSB, LSB, see how well that's baked in. So there's a lot of, I'm interested in getting one, because I'm curious about the workflow. Always have been curious about the workflow about the machine. And if it's something that I can use and it can take me over the top of my production, I'm in. But some of these things I'm mentioning, I have to really know if it can handle that kind of workflow, because it's become an important part of my workflow. So we'll see. I'm excited about it. And instead of pre-ordering one, I think I'm going to at least see what the first version software has to offer on release and see how baked it really is. So until then, leave any questions or comments in the bottom, and please don't forget to subscribe, and peace out.